So this design has a kind of it has a belt at the waist area and another overlap design at one side of the front that made it look like a blazer kind of dress. Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial today. So a plus size client of mine ordered for this particular design and this is what I made. Okay, so that's the belt area, and as you can see, if you watch closely, you see the overlap of the front. So I decided to bring you guys along as I'm making this dress, including the pattern and the sewing of it. Okay, I'm yet to iron it because the electricity is out, but I'll do that once it's back. Yeah, this is that overlap area that looks like a blazer, kind of like a wrap kind of effect. Hey, so in this very particular design, I already have my V-neck and my pattern, the underbust, the waistline that, the side that side bust that. So this person is actually a plus size, okay? So I'm going ahead to eliminate the waist dart. And if you've been following my tutorials, you should know by now how to eliminate darts. Okay, so that is what I'm doing now. You want to measure the darts and remove it by the side of the pattern. So I've gone ahead to measure the 1 inch and also the length of the dart, and I'm putting these together, and that is what we mean by dart elimination. And I'm going ahead to eliminate the dart. So that means this other dart is no longer relevant. We have taken it out. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe for more tutorials. Okay, so heading over to my side bust dart, because I don't want the side bust dart to be pointed directly to her bust, I had to reduce it to 2.5 inches, and then I'll be using my ruler to redraw my side bust dart starting from that 2.5 inch, then having my new side bust dart, which I'm going to be cutting out like so. So having done that, for the sake of this design, I'm going ahead to extend my bust apart measurement, which is the actual line where the dart leg was taken from. I'm going ahead to cut it all the way to the waistline, as you're seeing me doing in this video now, all the way to the waistline, like so. And I'll go ahead to cut to the side, not to the center front, to the side. So having done this, when you open it up, you'll be having that kind of A-line effect. So you decide on how much flare you want, and we're going to see what mine looks like. So here is it. This is how much flare my client wants for this actual design, and this is what I came up with. This is how much I slashed and spreaded for that very particular design, as you can see. So now I'm going to be working on this very particular front. For that overlap effect, I'm going to be having it from my waistline all the way down. I'm marking 7.5 inches or 7 inches thereabouts. I used 7 inches, and it's actually curved. But while we move on in this video, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm marking 7 inches all the way, like so, from my waistline all the way. I'm marking 7 inches. So I'm using my ruler to join those dotted lines together, like so. So I'm using my ruler to join those dotted lines together. And having done that, I'll go ahead to insert my bust circumference. I'm inserting this bust circumference to give me a kind of view on where the overlap will be resting when the client wears it, so that it doesn't fall on top of our bust, so that it comes very well somewhere close to the underbust, or like it laps, that overlap is going to come out well. Okay, so that bust circumference is going to help me to know what to do and how to draw my artistic line of that very wrap design. So here is my overlap, here is my bust circumference drawn out. So I'm going to have to trace out the whole of this from that 7 inches black, like so, to my very top of the shoulder, and I've gone ahead to trace it out. So I'm going ahead to mark my side, my waistline, so it's very visible. From the waistline, I'm marking 3.5 inches. and I'm going ahead to draw the 3.5 inches from so from that very point, 3.5 inches, that's where I'm going to be creating that wrap design. Like that's where the wrap design is going to stop before we attach the belt. So from that 3.5 inches, I'm going to draw this line, a curved line, to meet the very 7 inches of this other side. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but from exactly what I'm doing here, and from the other one, I'm curving it all the way to the neckline. I hope that is explanatory. I'm curving it all the way to the neckline. Remember, you're using your bust circumference as a guideline to know where it's going to fall, okay? Like so, this is what I've got, and I'm trying to draw this out to make sure that the lines are okay. This client is actually, she's on the heavy plus size. She's on the heavy plus size. So I'm trying to make sure that this work is as good as possible. Just like the previous one, she loved it and she ordered for this again. So heading straight to the back, we aren't doing much to the back. Same thing, I'm going to be eliminating the darts now for the back, okay? So I'm going to have to eliminate the darts for the back. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section, okay? And share this video to every platform where it will be needed. Thank you, and I really do appreciate you. So heading over to the very pattern, we've eliminated the dart. I'm going ahead to cut it off just so we don't make use of it. Okay, so having eliminated our dart, same thing, I'll go ahead to extend my bust apart measurements, which some people call nipple to nipple, all the way to the hemline, just like we did to the front. And I'll go ahead to cut it open, okay? Same thing we did to the front, we are doing to the back in this very particular time, not this very particular slash and spread method, okay? What we slashed and spreaded for the back, same thing we are slashing and spreading for the front. So I've gone ahead to cut it out on the fabric, and we'll head straight to the sewing. The sewing is actually a very technical, it's actually very technical. So I'm going to have to sew up my darts. This is actually my side bust dart for the front. Making sure that my dart legs align, I'm going to have to sew up my darts for the front. And same way, I'll be sewing up every other dart for this particular design. There are no darts at the back. There are just darts in the front of the fabric and also the lining, and the overlap design also has a dart. So I'm going ahead to sew up the darts for all those places, okay? So same thing I'll be doing for the other darts of the front also. I'm going ahead to sew it up like so. So having done that, I'm going to head to mark out the measurement of the client with a chalk, as you can see. So I'm going ahead to place right side together, front and back, and I'm stitching the sides. You want to pay close attention to this very sewing of the fabric, because that's where there are some techniques that I use in trying to achieving this very particular design. So, and it's more on the sewing side of it, on this sewing aspect. So you want to watch closely on what I am doing. So I'm sewing all the way down like so, making sure that those marks align the front and the back. So having done that now, remember we have a belt, a fabric belt attached to the waistline of the other side, where you're going to be tying together with the wrap design that also has a belt. So I'm going ahead to mark the midpoint of my waistline, and from that midpoint I'm marking 1/2 inch on the up and the down. So that very area is where my belt is going to fit in, okay? So I went ahead to remove the thread of that area to cut it open, and using my belt I'm going to be inserting it on that very space like so, and I'll be sewing it all the way down. Now I'll be stitching it back, rather. I'll just go ahead to stitch it back. The reason why I sewed before loosening and doing this is that threaded area is going to help you like a guide mark, so that everything falls in place and there isn't going to be any need for adjustment and all that. So this is it. This is what it looks like. I'm trying to remove every excess thread that is hanging around. So this is it for that very particular area. So heading over to that overlap design. Heading over to that overlap design, I actually cut a lining for it. And for that overlap design, you want to fold in, you're going to be folding in from this very point where the neckline stops. Because the neckline is same with the lining, we are going to be folding it in with the main lining of the fabric. But this other area that is like the overlap design, we are folding it in with the lining of the wrap design. I hope that is understandable. We are folding in with the lining of the wrap design, whereas the neckline is going to be folded in with the main lining of the dress. Okay, so that's it for this very particular area. Every other part you're folding in with the lining of the wrap, whereas the neckline you're folding in with the main lining of the dress. Okay, so having done that, I'm gonna head to sew. Like I told you, this is what it looks like. Look at the neckline and heading over to the sides also. So remember, this wrap design is at the right side of the dress. So I'll go ahead to loosen up that right side. I've loosened it up like so, and then I'll be attaching the wrap on the main bodies, making sure that the neckline fits. Like I want to make sure that the neckline of the wrap design and the neckline of the main bodies fit like so. That's what I'm trying to make sure that they are in place. You have to make sure that these things are in place, okay? So I'm making sure that it's in place. It kind of shifted, so I had to go back. If you have a pin, use a pin to hold this down. I can't place my hands on my pin now, and I don't want to stand up from here. So having done that, I'm going ahead to sew half inch before the main measurement of the client, half inch before the main measurement of the client. You want to sew half inch before the main measurement of the client. So I'm going to have to sew this all the way to where the wrap design stopped. Okay. Sorry, my sewing machine is having some kind of issues. I don't know, but it's not going to stop what we are doing. So I'm going to have to sew it all the way down. So having done that now, since I'm going to have to attach it to the front, now we are going to be placing the back and the front together to sew up the side. That is to form a bodice, okay? To sew up the side like we did earlier. So following that thread line where I loosened, I'm going to have to sew it up back and front, okay? To form a full bodice. I hope that is understandable. So I'm going to have to sew it. Like I said, the thread design that we loosed is going to serve as a kind of a guideline, okay? It's going to be easier for us so you don't make mistakes. Everything is in line, okay? And has to be same measurement. So I'm trying to sew everything, making sure that there are no rumples, there are no folded places, no places gathered, okay? So I'm sewing it all the way down like so. And yes, it has rhymed with the other part and it has met where we stopped sewing, and I'll go ahead to cut up like so. Okay, so that is it for this very particular area. So I'll go ahead to join. As you can see, yes, that's what it looks like. So we're going ahead to remove every thread that we don't need, all those threads that are hanging around. Okay, so I'll go ahead to join the shoulders together. Okay, back and front shoulder together. We'll go ahead to join the shoulders together, back and front. So having done that, I'll go ahead now to attach my zipper. I actually attach zipper before lining to give it a neat finish. We attach zipper before lining, okay? So I'm using this pen to mark where I'm going to start sewing the zipper from, okay? So putting it in my sewing machine, making sure that that mark aligns with the edge of the back neckline. I'm going ahead to sew all the way down. I'm using an invisible zipper, so I'm kind of opening it up. If you've been following my tutorials, I use invisible zipper most of the time, especially when I'm making an English wear, which is mostly what I make on this channel. So I'm going ahead to sew it all the way down like so, opening up that zipper and trying to sew as close as possible. Please do not sew on top of it, just so as close as possible to the very edge of the zipper. So that is what I'm sewing right now. And I'm sewing inwards, okay? I'll stitch it up. Same thing I'll be doing to the other side. So heading over to the lining, same thing, you sew up your darts and you join the front and the back together, right side facing right side. I already marked out the measurements, so I'm going ahead to join front and back together, right side facing right side, okay? I'm sewing the lining separately from the fabric so I can just turn it inside it. It's going to give it more authentic look, like make it look like, ready to wear garments. So I'm going ahead to sew it like so all the way down, just the same way we sewed for the fabric. So having sewed the lining now, the technique I use to pour it inside is like you're trying to put the lining inside the main dress. Just kind of you're trying to pour it inside the way it's going to look when it's sewn, and then you hold it from there and turn it over, or right side facing right side. Right side of the lining should face right side of the fabric, starting from your center front, and you sew. So that is what I'm doing right now, trying to put these things together. So from my center front, I'm going ahead to start sewing from the center front all the way to the shoulder and to the back neckline into the zipper. So I'm going to have to sew that I'll be cutting off everything that is not needed. I notched the center front of the V neckline, okay? So I'm going to have to top stitch at the lining area. The top stitching will help the lining to fold in. Yes, even if you don't top stitch, it's not going to fold in, but the top stitching helps it to fold inside so that the fabric alone is what is showing on the outside. So here, this is what it looks like. And that is it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.